So I wanted to take this moment and just really unpack everything a little bit. And this is probably more of, I would consider a fireside chat or something to that effect, because I think for me, when I started peeling back these layers, it got me asking more questions and got me down a rabbit hole. And it really is all about, what do I do before I put money on the line as far as trading? What information do I need so that when I put money on the line trading, that I'm not donating it to the charts? And I think that was really the big thing that got me, was because I was taking these claims and I was saying they've got to be true. I think that's where retail trading just gives you that information, right? And I was wrong about gold, but I was not wrong in the way that you would think that I was wrong. So gold trends, I was right about that. But what I was wrong about was the path, right? The path and the heat. And I think as traders, that's how we make a lot of these mistakes, right? Is that they're easy because we take these claims and we think that they are true. And so I'm going to try to build an edge around them. And what I found was that I can be right about direction, but that does not guarantee me a profitable edge. And so, like I had mentioned in the previous video, it really caused me to ask a bunch of questions. And it doesn't necessarily mean just because a claim is true that it's tradable. I think it's really important to ask questions, especially when you're putting money on the line. And so I just started asking these questions, right? And so a couple things that happened is I started looking at trading in a different light. And for me, I needed more information. So for this gold study on the previous video, it was like, okay, that's great. It trends, but then what? Can I build a system around it that's going to give me an edge where I can win more than I lose, right? And what I found out more and more with the different studies and stuff that I was doing across multiple assets, that if there's a claim, it's eventually going to go this way. Eventually, price is going to break out, and then 59% of the time, when it breaks out bullish, it's going to go bullish, and when it breaks out bearish, it's going to go bearish X% of the time. For example, I've heard that recently. And so what I've come to learn is that doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's tradable, and that's only part of the story. That the drawdown matters, right? Because that's where our psychology lives. And again, you can have a claim and you can have it untradable and have it be an illusion at the same time. And that is really the whole story of why I really leaned into data quite a bit. So I'm hoping that what this video does for you is that it causes you just to think and ask questions before you put money on the line. I think that's the big thing, is if you're going to trade it and you're going to invest time, energy, resources, mental energy, and all of that, that you actually start asking questions and not necessarily taking those claims as 100% truth to build strategies on that are not necessarily edge building strategies. So one of the questions that probably would be good to ask is, the claim, in fact, is it an edge? Will it give you an edge if you traded that claim? And so that's something to look into, right? I think another one is about the strategy. Does the strategy that they're claiming is profitable, all of that type of stuff, does it actually have enough data behind it so that you're comfortable trading it when you put your money on the line? Again, that's another big thing, right? And then another question that you might want to ask is, a strategy really profitable? Not just cherry pick screenshots, not just it did it one time and I'm going to go ahead and make a tweet about it, a post about it, or a TikTok about it, or whatever, and make it seem bigger than it really is. But is it going to give you an edge? Is it going to be profitable before you start putting money on the line? I think that's really important. Another question is, this is the trade path, this is the TP, and this is the route that it takes to get there. Can you stomach the drawdown psychologically and mentally, right? As I think that, to me, was, these two, quite frankly, are really interesting questions, because I've traded, and when you've had the trades just take off, they go your way. It happens typically pretty quickly. You don't have a lot of drawdowns, so you don't worry about, oh my God, is it going to win or whatever, that type of thing, right? So trade that. I think when you are putting yourself in a position where your strategy gives you an edge, you're going to have less psychological heat as well, because you're not going to be fighting the market. You're going to be working with the market. Now, are you going to lose sometime? Of course, but not every trade is going to be like, oh my God, this is pulling teeth type of thing. I think that's really important to ask. And then a couple things that I like to leave you with is simply to ask questions before you put money on the line. I think that's really important. Is, if that is a claim, then look into it to see, is it going to give you an edge? look at data if you can. And that's why I provide the data. And that's why I do this, is to say, is this real? And if it is, then build an edge around it and then trade with it and earn money through that trading. If not, then you'll know right away. And then you can begin looking for something that can give you an edge. All right, so I hope this was helpful. I know it was a little bit different, but I felt that this needed to be said. I think it's important to question. I think it's important not to necessarily take what the retail trading space says as the gospel, because it's your money on the line. Whether you're going through prop accounts, you're spending money on that prop account, and then you're trying to trade so that you can get access to capital so that you can make money with that prop account, or it could be your personal funds. Either way, you're putting money on the line. And when you're doing that, I want it to be for me where I do have a statistical probability that I'm going to win more than I'm going to lose, right? And that's what got me on this questioning thing, that I'm just saying, is this real? So I'm looking at everything through the eyes of the state of Missouri, right? Where it says, show me, that type of thing. So anyway, I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that it gets you thinking a little more, instead of we get all excited and stuff, and I think sometimes maybe our emotions might get carried away. I know mine does, when I just like, wow, this is great. And I just jump the gun a little bit, so to speak. But what I've begun to do is I've begun to go, really? I'm like the state of Missouri. You've got to show me. And then the more that I dug in, is the more that it was like, this one doesn't really provide an edge. Now I can move on to something else that can provide an edge, to where trading with real money is you're going to have a statistical advantage. So hope that was helpful, guys. I hope you got value out of this, everything. There's some stuff in the description if you want to check it out. We've provided data files. You can get them on Gumroad and they're for free. And then some things that you can wire up Claude or whatever AI to ping the data and look at it within your own strategy to see, does it really hold up? All right. So with that, I appreciate it, and I will see you on another video.